For decades, New Zealand was admired worldwide for its stunning landscapes, political stability, and strong governance, earning a reputation as a rock-star economy that combined prosperity with a high quality of life. Yet by 2025, that image has sharply shifted. Once a model of economic balance, the country now faces its worst financial strain in over 30 years. Government budgets are stretched thin, productivity is stagnating, real incomes are falling, and inflation has eroded household savings. Businesses are closing, and many young, skilled citizens are leaving in search of better opportunities. The economy, long reliant on natural resources, tourism, and property, thrived on global demand for dairy, meat, and timber, but underlying this success was heavy dependence on private debt, which has left New Zealand vulnerable to financial shocks and structural weaknesses that now threaten its future stability. Country rich in resources but captures only a fraction of the potential value. By exporting mostly raw or minimally processed goods, New Zealand misses out on higher margin opportunities that come from adding value through manufacturing, branding, or finished products. This heavy reliance on a narrow range of primary commodities, combined with a dependence on a single major trading partner like China, leaves the economy exposed to price swings, trade disputes, or geopolitical tensions. While the country appears wealthy on paper, the underlying economic structure is fragile, with limited diversification and vulnerability that could magnify any external shocks. Productivity growth averaged just 0.7% per year, one of the lowest rates in the OECD. Wages barely kept pace with inflation, leaving most households struggling despite soaring property values. The economy's apparent strength masked deep structural weaknesses, over-reliance on a narrow export base, excessive household debt, and a housing market that inflated wealth on paper but created real financial vulnerability. Now, as interest rates rise and global demand softens, the fragile foundations are showing cracks. Without diversification, investment in productive sectors, and policies that boost real incomes, New Zealand risks a prolonged period of stagnation where high asset prices offer little real security and economic resilience remains painfully low. Pushed mortgage repayments through the roof, leaving thousands of households struggling to meet their obligations. Property values, once the pillar of perceived wealth, began to stall and even decline in overheated markets. Consumer spending slowed as families tightened budgets, and small businesses felt the pinch with fewer customers and rising costs. Meanwhile, government revenue from property taxes and transaction fees dropped, creating a fiscal squeeze just as public services were increasingly needed. The combination of high household debt, stagnant productivity, and an over-reliance on property as a wealth engine exposed New Zealand's economy to a perfect storm, leaving it vulnerable to external shocks and internal imbalances. Without decisive structural reforms, investing in innovation, diversifying exports, and improving workforce skills, the country risks a prolonged period of stagnation, where growth exists on paper but real prosperity continues to slip out of reach. Value industries, boosting innovation, and diversifying exports beyond raw commodities. It means modernizing infrastructure, improving digital networks, and creating an environment where businesses can scale and high-skilled workers want to stay. Workforce development, immigration policy, and education reform are critical to replenish talent and sustain productivity. Without these structural changes, New Zealand risks a prolonged stagnation where the economy grows on paper but real living standards decline. The fiscal and demographic pressures will only intensify, forcing future governments into painful trade-offs, higher taxes, reduced services, or crippling debt. Reversing course isn't easy, but it's essential, otherwise the Kiwi dream of prosperity, stability, and opportunity could become a cautionary tale for the developed world. New Zealand's challenge isn't a lack of resources, it's a lack of structure and strategy. Wealth exists, but it's trapped in the wrong places: property speculation, commodity exports, and short-term gains rather than long-term innovation. Households are leveraged, government coffers are strained, and productivity lags far behind what's needed to sustain growth. To secure its future, New Zealand must pivot from being a passive supplier to an active creator, investing in high-value industries, R&D, infrastructure, and talent retention. The clock is ticking, and the choices made today will determine whether the country thrives or drifts into stagnation. Rebuilding the foundations isn't optional, It's essential for prosperity, stability, and opportunity for generations to come.